Tracking retention is the holy grail of making games, and 90% of that job happens in the first 10 minutes. Welcome to this new podcast where we get people who've built amazing games before to experience a game for the very first time with us and tell us what they like and what they don't. Welcome to DZero. Welcome everyone to another episode of DZero, where we play a bunch of new games with people who've built games before and see what they feel about the game for the first 10 minutes of the session. As we all know, like retention is such a big issue in games that it'll be a cool way to sort of play along with somebody who's built a bunch of games before and see what they have to say about it. Today we have Anirban on the podcast. Anirban has been a friend more than anything else, and before that he was building products at Zynga, built a couple of games, and we both worked together at DZero. And then he has gone on to work at Ola Electric, where he's building scooters and whatnot. Hello, Anirban. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Brijesh. You forgot to mention the games that we had built together at Hike. So that's
Oh,
another
yeah.
place where we built games together.
That's actually the first place where I think I ended up building games with you. I remember we built Game of the Day as an entire collection of casual games within one app, which I think actually is now picking up quite a bit. After
Yeah.
Apple sort of introduced their whole privacy first scan for thing, people are not able to make individual casual games work, especially because cost of acquisition is so high, you can't afford to have somebody leave the app so quickly. Now people are building a multitude of casual games in one place so that even if one person gets bored of one game, they can at least try to upsell them into the second game, which is what we had tried in 2016.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see that come back. But yeah, cool, man. Like, I just want to quickly sort of give everyone a brief of all the stuff that you have done. But I want to speak to you more about actually your time at Zynga and a lot of the stuff that you carried forward from Zynga into other places that you worked at. But before that, just let's start with Zynga itself. Like, how did you even get into Zynga? Like, how was your like? Did you wanted to go into a gaming company, or is it something that happened by chance? And once you got there, like, what are some of the things that you worked on?
Yeah. So during my MBA, I was not really looking at Zynga as an option. In fact, Zynga during our placements was a last minute um, entry into our campus placement. So I think during my internship, I was following the bandwagon and I interned at an investment bank. But quickly figured out, okay, that's not really my cup of tea. And they also figured out it was not my cup of tea. So I think I was primarily interviewing with marketing companies, so the likes of
Hmm.
Unilever, P&G, so on and so forth. And for two reasons primarily, I think marketing, based on at least my understanding of the subject back then, was trying to understand why people behave in certain ways and then abstract that out and use it for business objectives and purpose. So that was one very interesting part about marketing. And I think every other subject I did not do too well in. Marketing was the only set of courses that I did well in, so that was my second reason to look at marketing. So but as luck would have it, Zynga visited our campus that year, and Zynga was a company which was doing quite well. It had not gone public yet, but it was
Oh,
doing
nice.
quite well in the private markets. And I'd always been a gamer, so I'd been playing video
Oh,
games
you
since I
were.
was 4 or 5 years old. So when Zynga as a company visited, I definitely thought that I should explore, and then one thing led to the other, and that's how I got into Zynga and product management.
This was post. This was which year? This was 2000, and
This
I
was
think this would have,
2012.
and this would have been post Facebook Zynga. They must have already gotten into
Yes.
non-Facebook games.
So they just started to build out games for the Facebook platform. I think the Facebook platform opened its doors for game developers around 2011. So they had just started to see the distribution advantages of the Facebook platform in and around that time.
Got it. Nice. And what did you work on? Like, what did you get thrown into inside Zynga?
So my first game was this game called Hidden Chronicles. It was a hidden object game where you'd basically be shown a scene which would have like a whole shit ton of objects, and there were certain key objects that you were supposed to find as early as possible. So that was how the core mechanic and scoring used to work. And then there was like meta storyline around you being, I think, a descendant of some rich person, and then you were rebuilding his estate. So every scene
Oh,
would
by
give you like parts.
collecting.
Yes, so all
Oh, nice.
the traditional Zynga gaming mechanics like collectibles, quests, buildables, all of those were integrated into the game.
And this
So
was a
that was my.
Facebook game?
This was a Facebook game, yes.
Oh, nice. And you were, I think this was your first game. I also remember you ended up building like a fully new game as well at Zynga at some point.
Yes. So at some point when this game was kind of on the decline, one of the things we observed was that the core DAU had run out of content, like the storyline, etc. They had run out of it, but they would keep playing the scenes over and over again. So that insight was that
Oh,
we have like a hardcore set of players who enjoy the core mechanic a lot. So what we did was, and so we spoke to some of those users. They mentioned that they really like the storyline. They obviously loved the core game mechanic because they were playing scenes up to over 100 times. So the next game was actually and they mentioned that the narrative and the storyline, more than the buildables and the quests, were what they were interested in. So I think it was uh, those two or three insights that led to a sequel of this game, which was unlike a lot of Zynga games because it did not have like a 3D world where you would build stuff and all of that. So it was a sequel to this game called Hidden Shadows, and
oh.
that had the same core mechanic, but it was a supernatural detective thriller. So the narrative arc was a lot stronger, and it would, like, you were playing the role of a detective, and then you would, as you would solve these uh, crimes and scenes, you would make further progress in the game. So, so that
Actually, I
was
have a
the.
couple of things. Like one of the things that we have noticed while you started working with a lot of gaming studios is it feels almost like a lot of the consumer product thinking in India and even to this extent in large number of studios abroad has come from Zynga. Like the way we currently do consumer PMing seems to have gotten invented inside Zynga and obviously gotten modified and whatever. But the heart seems to have come from Zynga. And if you look at any consumer PM and the kind of stuff they look at today, all of that seems to be the stuff that Zynga was doing in like 2011, 12, etc., which has finally moved to like every industry today.
Yeah, so I think there is some amount of truth to it, because I think Zynga was one of the first companies which essentially thought about product management in a very structured fashion. So,
Mm.
um, first 2 weeks we had like a boot camp where we learned all the basics that still come to use today, right? So, first 2 weeks was that. Then, I think the product team at Zynga had a lot of people from the Bay Area who had done product for like decades, right? There was also a joke going around in Zynga that a lot of games got PM'd, and sometimes we were too metrics driven when it comes to decision making.
Yeah.
So that was, in some cases we might have overdone the product management aspects of it, and the creatives in the team, there was always like some amount of conflict between the PMs and game designers, creative designers on the team. But yeah, definitely a lot of best practices, and I was very fortunate to start off at Zynga, because product management about 15 years back in Zynga was not as widespread as it is today. So in that sense, I was fortunate to start off there.
Is there anything that you did at Zynga that you still do in your product team, even though it's an electric scooter company?
Yeah, so I think two, three things. So wherever possible, trying to estimate the impact of a feature before you actually go ahead and launch it. I think that's one thing that I try to. I wouldn't say I'm able to do it 100%, but at least 60-70% of the cases, try to make sure that me and my team actually stick to that. Second is for features where the impact is not very easy to measure, especially on the website, right? Where BIPs actually do matter.
Yeah.
Testing out those features on limited user groups, establishing the impact, and then um, launching it. I think that's another one. The third one is, I think, and this I think Zynga did really well on certain things which traditionally might seem hard to measure, right? Like, for example, what sort of creative direction among several options should your game narrative take? So there are ways to actually find that out by setting up focus groups, speaking to users,
Yeah,
and getting a
storyboarding a lot of
uh,
paths.
so having low fidelity concepts of the crux of your feature, especially features which are more expensive to build, and getting early feedback from users on things like narrative, creative direction, etc. I think that's another thing that I initially learned
I
at
know
Zynga and I've since.
this reminds me of Anand has been on this podcast. He was one of our first guests. So I
Okay.
remember distinctly when we were trying to build something at Hike, and it was like a fairly large feature. And Anand came and said, "We should first verify this on paper." So he just drew like the core loop of like the options that we had and said, "Go bring 10 people. We will show them this entire thing on paper, which he had drawn, and we could get a quick sense of whether this direction or that direction is going to do better." Uh, but yeah, I think that's like a very heart of what Zynga tries to do. I've also realized that the actual impact estimation doesn't matter as much as forcing that process, because even though you can't estimate the impact really well, you are most likely be able to eliminate things that will definitely not work. Like,
And you know the parts that you're like you've got a funny feeling in your stomach about, right? And those are the things that you actually want to validate. So you know which of your input assumptions you're unsure about. And I
yeah,
think doing that helps because as soon as you launch, that's the one that you're going and looking at and already in the back of your mind starting to think about how you're going to improve that assumption in case things don't work first time around. So you're absolutely right. The process itself adds a lot of value, even if you don't get it 100% right all the time, which never
one
happens,
of
by the way. I've never seen it happen.
one of the things that I personally realized while building Segwise is I have also seemed to have learnt all my PMing the Zynga way because of you, who I worked with at Hike, and everybody that I was surrounded with at Hike. And then we continued the way we did at Dunzo, and I took that to Pampe. So when we built Segwise, we thought we had built something for everyone. But then eventually we realized that we had built something that was very specifically built for the way gaming companies operate. And that's how we ended up sort of focusing a lot more on gaming companies over the last few months. But yeah, there is a way in which gaming companies operate, which continues to be like a lot similar to the way you described things used to work at Zynga in like 2012. But yeah, cool. That was fun. So this is a segment where we actually play the game for the first time with you. The game that we have picked is Royal Match. You have confirmed that you have not played this before. So
I
we
have
will.
not.
So even I haven't played this, so I'll also be watching it for the first time while you play it. So the idea is that we launch the game and we start trying to play the game for the first 10 minutes and see what parts are clearly our PM brain is picking up as things that are done really well, and what parts are like somewhat confusing. You never really truly know why somebody has done something the way they have, but it's good to at least put our opinions out there and see if somebody wants to learn something from what we discussed. So yeah,
Okay.
let's launch the game. Let's play it for 10 minutes and see where we get to in 10 minutes.
So I'm just supposed to react to everything as I'm playing along, right?
Whatever comes to you as, hey, this is interesting, I know why this person has done this is not good, I would have done it in a different way, is
Okay.
kind of
So
where we're
first thing
trying
is
to
the
go.
icon. So jolly old Santa Claus type gentleman makes me want to click on it and check it
Click.
out. So I think they made
No,
the icon pretty good, although it's got nothing to do with match three. I think
the
there's something.
royal part is coming out though.
Yeah, like it seems like this gentleman is inviting me in. So, and I can see the by tapping. Okay. Okay. So this is somewhat of I guess a
Jarring
dark,
thing.
because the only CTA that you see is okay. So
Yeah,
this is some dark design pattern that a PM has come up with.
some growth PM inside this company.
No way for me to skip it. So, okay, let's assume I've read it. So I see a lot of
See if you can go to the top settings and reduce the this thing. You can switch off the music. Yeah, cool.
okay,
Cool.
so I'm able to see a lot of like, okay, I'm assuming that the hearts is the number of lives that I have. I have some crowns. Stars is some version of XP points.
Dude, you
There's
can hear the sea. Like
there's
I can
areas
hear.
to explore. Yeah, you can hear the sea and you can hear the birds.
That's
So
awesome.
nice touch. And then there's a lot of funny icons in the bottom, which I have no idea what they are. So I think this is one of the things that possibly as a product manager, not just this game, but I've seen this in tons of games. And I think at Zynga, Farmville 2 was the first game that did a very good job at this, where um, they introduced features with levels in the game. So
Hmm.
instead of bombarding new users with, like right now, I can count almost at least
A
10, 12
lot.
features, right? So instead of bombarding users with every single feature in the first level, you introduce levels. Let's say the next feature comes at level 3, then you introduce another feature at level 5, then you introduce another feature at level 7. What that does is in your new user onboarding, it doesn't overwhelm the users.
Yeah.
And plus, it gives them something to look forward to in addition to the level itself as you progress to levels. So, from a retention standpoint, I think that was a really good way to think about how do you introduce features.
Like I'm
Um,
noticing these four buttons at the bottom, which I don't need to see right now. I haven't even played the loop once.
exactly. Even the coins and the lives, right? Do you really need it? Because, like, I'm
What
sure
will I
there's
do?
a for it, right? So,
Yeah.
if I were to
I think
read
they're
in,
going for the
I
they're
mean,
going
just
for the big green buttons intro where they assume that you will click on that big green button.
yeah, but like at this point as a user, there's like 13 call to actions,
Yeah.
right? So, okay. So anyway, let me just go ahead and start level one. Okay. Okay. So I have a goal. I need to get 36, some weird symbol. I don't know what that is yet. And boosters are all locked. So again, this screen, right? Do you really need to show boosters? Do
If they're
you,
locked, especially.
they're locked, right? Why not just start the game? And the goal, you've not introduced what these crowns are. So I don't even know at this point what the goal is. But anyway, let's just on. They showed me a rocket symbol
Yeah, in
for
between for a
almost
second.
not even a second. That was probably like half a second, and I have no idea what it is. So make a match next to a box to break it.
This is great. This is amazing. Like very clear.
But why is it matching red and green together? That's the part that I don't understand. I usually thought
Nini,
it would match symbols together.
what it's saying is that if you pull it down, the red thing will come down.
Oh, okay. So they swap around. Okay, okay, okay. My bad. Okay. So it's a swap. Okay. Oh,
I
okay.
don't.
It's there.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Okay. This.
That's the rocket thing that came in between. I still don't know what or how it comes.
So I think you tap it. I think once pieces combine, that's when it sort of works. Okay, I think I'm supposed to. Okay, now I get what those 36 crowns are. These like unopened boxes. I think those are what the crowns are.
Oh, you need to collect those. Hmm.
So I need to prioritize breaking boxes which are next to it. Okay, there's TNT as well, but probably should break the TNT when I'm closer to these boxes.
See, that's a nice hint thing. Oh, yeah. Did you see what it did? It just highlighted that rocket thingy to you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it gave me a hint. Then there's that Candy Ball, Candy Crush Saga type thing as well.
So one of the things that I was reading about this is it's basically match three. Uh, so unlike Candy Crush, where the goal is just to keep playing more levels. Uh,
Okay, so I got a star. Continue. You
you
can
can
open your task list from here. Okay, so let's look at the task list. Build castle. Do it 1 star, and I have 1 star. Okay, so let's
I
just.
like that the fact that they've highlighted that 1 star while they said build with 1 star.
Yeah, I think that was a good touch. So now I have a castle, but the damn castle is blocking. my view to the sea. Build the mountain, but I don't have stars, so this will probably trigger a payment flow. Let's check it. Okay, beat levels to earn stars. Okay, continue. Okay, now it brought me to level 2. I can go ahead and start 2. The rocket again came for like a fraction of a second.
So here is the thing that I was reading, that what they've done is essentially taken the match 3 format and added this additional layer of building this, this world out. So for every game that you win, you're
Yeah,
also having that meta goal of I want to create this big ass universe of like castle, this, that, garden, whatever.
yeah. And I think a lot of these casual games actually use these meta games. Now, in this case, it's building something, but I've seen other types of like narrative, what I was mentioning, right?
Yeah.
Is another thing where you can build a game to drive long-term retention and engagement. I think that's the reason why these things have been shown to work. There's a new power for and okay. So one other thing is that the direction of these indicate how I can break this.
When is that rocket getting triggered? I still don't understand when you trigger that. You have to click on it or it does it automatically?
I think when you make some matches, that's when that piece emerges. But the exact pattern I've also not been able to figure out.
How much? So, okay, I think we get the core loop. This is fun. You can
Now
exit,
let's build a fountain.
build off the fountain.
Okay. The thing is, I think they've done a good job at sort of the animations that came up when the fountain was being built. So that I guess is the
Even the sound of that stone getting
fountain.
put.
Yes. So I think that's the reward moment, right? Once you finish a level, um, you're getting this tangible reward. So I think that's pretty nice. Um, and I'm sure in like there'll be more hard work to build further things in future levels.
Like one of the small little good things that they've done is this area one, right? You can see that you need to do more for this area to get completed. It's very obvious that you're only 2 out of 6 there.
Yeah.
And my inherent OCD brain wants it to get completed.
Yes. I think yes, that progress bar is a good touch. Let's check out the other this thing as well. So okay, this is areas. So
Oh, acha,
through
you're in area one. Okay, this is also great.
okay, so they're showing you what's up ahead, and okay, so you basically go inside the castle in the subsequent
Yeah.
part of the game. Okay, so it's
I
all
think
inside
they messed up a little, or maybe they know that people explore this anyway. I would have so one of the biggest retention drivers that most games have is this whole like where is this going? Like what are
yeah,
you like looking forward to while you continue to do this? Because assuming that look, this is what we just played is most likely the first session for most casual games, right? About 7 to 10 minutes at best. I would have expected somebody to show me like all of this. And an even cooler feature, can you click on it? Just see if you can touch something and if they show a preview of what it can be.
no, they don't show a preview, but it's got a shit ton of rooms.
Yeah.
Like,
So, like, an amazing feature, if somebody from the team is listening, is if you can tell me what this locked area can be in its full-fledged form, like, I would then sort of get hooked to sort of create that thing uh, on my
wow,
own.
man, it's just amazing the amount of rooms they have for the castle. If they've got everything from a movie theater to a factory to a theme park to they've put a lot of thought into this. Yeah, but you're right. I
Imagine,
mean, if they showed you this, then likelihood of coming back might have been
because I want
high,
to see the end state.
or at least show some part of this. Maybe this is like okay, they've got 108 areas. Okay, next up is the
Leaderboard,
leader.
of course.
We've got a Facebook Connect. So here maybe some incentive to connect with Facebook might
Yeah,
have useful. And also the text here is definitely not true. I don't like, of course, you can save your progress even if you don't connect with Facebook, right?
yeah,
So
it's
I don't
actually
think
weird.
add friends, okay. The user ID bit, I think you would definitely want people to set their own user IDs or use one of the existing handles from a social network instead of having these random ass alphanumeric.
Numbers.
No
Hmm.
one can remember it. Um,
What does players do? Oh, this is the
okay, so there's a bunch of people on level 9001, which I think is the max. They've probably unlocked all the rooms, world, and oh, they
this
call
is
it.
again this is again like my small comment here is that there's no point in showing me somebody who's so far away from my existence right now. Like,
Uh,
I don't know.
so the way we used to handle this in the UX at Zynga was so you typically have 7 or 8
On
of
the
these.
top,
So you show the top three, you show the
yes,
player, and you show like a few
plus
people
minus
ahead.
one, two.
Yes, so that I think is the way to do this. And we had run experiments to sort of prove out why that was better.
I remember we
Okay.
did that same thing in Game of the Day when we had launched it at Hype, where we had added that plus minus two thing on the current position of the player.
These guys are only showing top 1,000, right? And then there's teams. Interestingly, they called India's Bharat year, so I think they've already changed the name. Um, okay, so there's some team level aspect to this as well. Okay, this is the cast teams. Okay, so this is an
And
interesting thing. So this feature, while they've put the surfacing point, it can't be unlocked until you reach level 21. So they have
yeah,
done some
this
part of,
works.
but they left the ingress point in there. And collection, oh, okay, so they've done the same thing for collections as well, but they just left the ingress point in there. Okay.
Okay. Like, yeah,
Heading.
I think it's a, yeah, you can just exit.
Okay, so you can, okay, so to map to an ID, they need you to, okay, sign in with. Uh,
It's okay.
this
Unless you want to
Then
continue to play
so,
it.
so the UI here could have been better. The symbols and the copy is not really balanced in the UI, but that's a minor. Okay. And then there's a profile here. One
They give
nice
you a
thing is
profile.
their CTAs though are quite prominent and like in your face.
Chunky, like big buttons.
Yeah, so I think they've done that part quite well. And it also goes with the art style of this particular game. So,
Yeah, cool.
okay.
This was a quite like simple first session. Like the core mechanic was, I think, very easy to pick up.
Yeah, very similar to, yeah, other match 3 games.
But I like the fact that, like, although it didn't show us what this full-fledged castle can look like, I can sort of get now. I'm already interested to like build out these new areas inside the castle.
So I think, yeah, that's one thing they could have done better because from the home screen, unless we had visited the castle tab, it's not clear whether like I'm going to expand
What's next?
and
Yeah,
build out more buildings or I'm going to go inside the castle,
correct,
right?
correct. Like I almost felt like okay, maybe whatever I built, I get to sort of explore
So
in some way or the other.
yeah, so I think they could have possibly shown that. And what else? What else? So let's think about now. Where do you think these guys have retention problems?
I feel like DZero itself might be a problem, like because the first see match three in itself is like there's like tons of match three games, right? So most likely retention hook is going to come from this meta game that you're trying to get me to get hooked onto, which is that here is this castle, then you can build out this entire area, etc., etc. But they didn't put in a lot of effort to expose me to their meta game as such, apart from showing me that, hey, this is your first castle, this is a fountain, I couldn't like imagine what this full-fledged universe is going to look like, which I think is going to be a big retention driver. So unless you
Yeah.
went and explored, or maybe they are seeing data that says, okay, like whatever, like some ridiculously high percentage of people go in and explore that tab anyway. I would have done a slightly more nudgy way to sort of get you there. I would have 100% shown you previews. Like if you
Yeah.
are going to click on any of those locked out stuff, I would like to see what does this look like. So that's what will get me excited to come back and play.
No, agreed. And in fact, I don't know how much value that fountain is added. Maybe the next task that you do is get started with one of the rooms inside, right? You could have
Yeah.
very easily put it that way because that gives you a sense that okay, there is like this whole world inside the castle. So definitely some opportunity there. I think some of the screens go by a little bit too fast. So unless you're attracting a hardcore
Match 3%.
match three person, for people who are new to the category, they might need a little bit of hand holding or at least contextual interventions in case they notice someone being stuck. Or what you were asking, right? When does that thing show up? So maybe the
Yeah.
first time those special pieces show up, right? An explanation of what is the action that the user takes in order for, because it's clear that okay, those are powerful, but I still don't know what I need to do to produce them. Um, that might be another. And then the other parts is, I think, hard to cover here. But what sort of notifications and
Hmm.
customer lifecycle management tricks they have up their sleeve to get me back to the game? I
I think one of the things that they did do really well is that I think their art and sound is fully on
quite
point.
good, yes,
Like when I heard the sea, I was like, wow, like that was, I've never heard the noise of sea in any game that I've ever played before. I think that was, I think the first time that I've ever heard the ocean as a background noise. So that
yeah,
was damn cool. And the detail that they went into when the fountain got placed, and you could hear that rock met rock when they placed
yes.
that fountain was very cool.
Their sound team is A class for sure. And I think the overall performance of how the interactions felt, the animations, those were also pretty slick and smooth. So I think that's a very important, hard to measure, but very important driver of retention for especially casual games like Match 3, right? If you have any lag or unintuitive movement on the physics side of it, I think that can piss off players and lead to low retention. So I think that part they've gotten uh, done pretty well.
But yeah, overall, I feel like I would be like I was expecting somehow a lot of this to not, like some of the things that we picked up to not be a problem because they've been around for a while now. And it's a huge game, like making a lot of money right now. So I would have assumed like they would have picked up on these things by now, but maybe they are seeing something that we are not. That's
Yeah,
the whole
maybe
point
they've
of
tried,
this.
yeah, some of this, but it doesn't work like that. So that's possible as well.
Like it almost felt like that rocket thing that went away too quickly. Some growth PM sitting there trying to see if like removing that quickly is like going to lead to like some lift in some
Yeah.
number somewhere.
So this is one of the things with like if you take the experimentation route
Too
too far, right? So instead of making a decision on removing it versus like keeping it, you get to this in between place where you're showing it, but you're only showing it for like half a second, right? Um, so one of the
and
risks of optimizing everything.
cool, yeah. We are almost at the end of the podcast. I think this is quite fun. I'm enjoying doing these sessions with people just to get to see them like play a game, see their brain sort of churn along for the first 10-15 minutes.
Yeah,
I
this is
end up learning a bunch of new stuff as well.
much more fun format than just talking about shit people have done because you're actually doing something and then you're talking about it. So good format, yeah.
Last couple of questions to wrap things up. One, what are you working on, which is cool and people who see this should check out? What are you guys doing on the scooter that we should all check out soon?
So at some point soon, we will have entertainment and gaming use
Nice.
cases on Twitter, and specifically for that form factor. So that's all I can say right now.
Cool,
So you
cool.
should check that out. And overall, I think this month there are a lot of offers running on our scooters. So uh, should check that out. I think, objectively speaking, on most performance parameters and features, we are the best scooter compared to the other options available. So would encourage everyone who's watching this to, if you're looking for a smart commute option, definitely check out our scooters
I
across both.
genuinely feel like the Ola scooter was one of the first vehicles which was PM'd. Like it, you can see it. Like it feels like a tech PM went and built a scooter. Versus like the traditional sort of automobile industry, which comes from a certain sort of thinking. This one feels like you can see the PMing in that product, like the kind of stuff that you guys have tested. Like I remember I was at a signal and I think music is already there on the scooter
We have
already.
music.
Yeah, so like that was like again not something that you would expect the traditional automobile industry to even experiment with. So I think a lot of cool stuff that I see now, even the light stuff. I think the light syncs with the music now, if I'm not.
Yes, we call it party mode. So I mean, it's not the most used feature, but we see interesting trends like usage spiking 3x on festivals,
Parties.
or when India won the World Cup, right? We saw usage spike then. So I think there's a use case for it, and once we put the speakers in there, it doesn't cost us much to actually put that feature in. So
Yeah, it's the stuff that you talk to friends about. Like, I think a lot of people forget that a lot of features might be like low frequency, but high sort of, whenever it
word of mouth.
happens, it drives like a crazy amount of word of mouth.
That's what we were going for with some of these features.
But cool, thank you so much. This was fun. Anything that you're playing like right now that people should check out?
So my colleagues got me a PlayStation 5 on my birthday.
Oh, ho, ho.
I've only played one game, so I think it used to be called FIFA. They named it something else from
Oh
2024.
yeah.
That's one. And yeah, and don't get too much time to play games. I think Spider Solitaire is the only other game that I play. So these two other games that I play right now.
Cool, cool. This was fun, Anirban. We should do more of this stuff. But
Yes.
thank you so much for coming.
All
Hopefully,
right.
this will be a fun sort of watch for everyone as well. We picked out quite a few fun things from that game.
See you, Brajesh. Good luck with the
Bye.